What's up, guys? In this video, I'm going to talk about how I would approach nutrition if I was vegan. If you guys watch my videos, you know that I never recommend a vegan diet. I think it's terrible. Most people are going to do it wrong, and they're uneducated. And in order to do it correctly, you need to be a mad scientist. And most people have absolutely no idea what they're doing, even when they have all the tools at their disposal. So when they artificially limit themselves to the tools that they can use by doing a restrictive diet, like being a vegan, it's going to be a complete disaster. However, if you wanted to do it in a intelligent way, I guess, and money was no object, and you didn't care about taste, and you had the ability to buy whatever foods that you wanted, and you could do it any way you wanted, this is how I would recommend that you do it. And even then, we'll see in the comparison here, it is far from perfect. So just a quick recap, right? I'm sorry about the, disorganizedness of this little graphic here, but anyway, if you're a non-vegan, all right, basically what I would recommend is that you eat mainly animal byproducts. So those are, in a nutshell, butter, muscle meat, meat and eggs, which is broadly encompassing, any kind of animal flesh, fish, beef, chicken, whatever. Liver is also really good. I prefer beef or chicken liver for taste. Tallow, which is clarified beef fat, I think, or lard. Cooking with lard is fine. Those are both really good. And all of those will give you vitamins A, D, and K in very large amounts. They're also very sufficient when it comes to getting adequate protein, getting enough fat. And I'm not saying you should only eat these foods, but this should be, like when I say, oh, you guys need to eat mainly meat and eggs, basically what I mean is you need to eat mainly animal byproducts, right? But like meat and eggs is more clear and easier to understand, especially for people who don't have that much. How much do you really want to know about nutrition, right? How much do you really want to know about anything? You want to know as little as possible so that you don't have to think about it anymore and you can move on with your life and focus on something that's more interesting than like what food I'm going to buy at the grocery store, which is not very interesting at all. Another benefit of not being a vegan is that you can basically exist without processed food, polyunsaturated fatty acids, wheat flour, like refined wheat flour, even regular wheat flour is not really that good, and processed sugar. So like, oh, vegans are healthier. Well, they're eating a lot more processed foods. So are they really healthier? I don't really know. I would say no. The one benefit, I guess, of being vegan is you're probably not going to eat a lot of fast food. So you're not going to eat a lot of fried stuff that is like drenched in canola oil, for example, and low quality meat and soda. But does that mean that it's the best way to do it and like every vegan is healthier than every meat eater? No, not even close. So this is what a typical non-vegan diet or like normal person diet should be. This is very common. Like this is kind of reminiscent of the, what's it called? Ancestral diet, Weston A. Price. Basically eat natural foods that mostly come from animals so that you can get enough vitamins A, D, and K, which are amply supplied in all of these things. Vitamin K, I think maybe you need to get that mainly from fermented foods, and it's vitamin K2. But, just pretend that I wrote in here, I wanted to write only like meat, I guess animal products here, and fermented foods are generally not made of animals as far as I know. Okay, so if you're a mad scientist vegan, what do you need to do? Well, you need to get vitamins A, D, and K in sufficient amounts. You need to get protein in sufficient amounts. You need to get fat, and that's basically it. Now, why do I list these 5 things? Protein, fat, vitamins A, D, and K? Because those are the things that it's kind of hard to get through a vegan diet. So if you're going to do it, the reason I say you have to be a mad scientist is because you need to make a conscious decision to choose foods that supply those nutrients. And even if you do that, even if you do everything on this list, it's still not going to be as good as this. And you're probably still going to have health problems. And you're not going to, you're just going to have health problems. It's not going to be fun. It's not going to be enjoyable. And it's definitely not preferable to this in any way, really, other than the knowledge that like you didn't indirectly contribute to the deaths of a bunch of cows and chickens, which I guess counts for something if you're, a sensitive person. Okay, so let's talk about vitamin D first. Now, I wrote sunlight here first because everybody should be getting some sunlight. Everybody, 100%. The sun is very good for you. I don't know how the sun got to have such a bad name. but the sun, what does it do? It converts sulfur into sulfates or something, or sulfite. I'm not really sure exactly what it does chemically, but the sun is really good for you. It provides vitamin D and a lot more. If you take two people, you give one of them vitamin D supplements and you expose one of them to the sun, I would think it's pretty obvious to everybody that the one who's getting direct sunlight exposure is going to be healthier and not just get the vitamin D from the sun, but get a lot more benefits that the sun provides. Just biologically, like we evolved to exist in the sun. So it's kind of strange to me that I have to make that argument. Anyway, there are some cereals like oats that have vitamin D in very small amounts, like trace amounts. But things like those, they also have anti-nutrients, phytic acid. So it's kind of like the thing with being a vegan is that there's you can get enough protein, let's say, but you're going to be getting it from soy, for example, or lentils or legumes. And all of those things, there are definite drawbacks to eating those way, way bigger than compared to getting your protein from meat or, eggs or something like that. So like, yeah, maybe you can get enough protein from soy, but all of the, phytoestrogens in soy are going to fuck you up. And we'll go over in a little bit the like more of the downsides of eating a lot of soy. All right, so that's vitamin D basically. What I would recommend, just get a lot of sunlight and take supplements, really. That's it. The RDA, recommended daily allowance, I think, of vitamin D is 400 IUs per day, which is nothing. I used to take 50,000 IUs a day and was fine. Back when I lived in New Zealand, I wasn't getting any sun. I was like freaking out. I was like, I don't have enough vitamin D. So I take 50,000 to 100,000 IUs a day. Honestly, didn't notice anything from it. Whereas when I quit and I went to Indonesia for a month and I got vitamin D from the sun every single day, I felt way better. So let's talk about vitamin A, or retinol. Get that from carrot juice, sweet potato, and pumpkin. So vitamin A, what the fuck does vitamin A do? I don't even remember what vitamin A does. Something for your eyes maybe, or your skin? I don't know. I take a very minimalist approach to like nutrition. It's like, I have two foods. Like let's say I only ate carrot. Like let's say I tried this, right? And I didn't feel as good as trying this. It's like, how much do you really need to know about why? How much do you really need to know? Not a lot, in my opinion. Just my excuse for not doing proper research before this video. But according to the internet, these foods, which all happen to be orange, have the highest amount of vitamin A in vegan foods. So eat those. I'm a fan of making pumpkin pie lately. Carrot juice, who doesn't like carrot juice? Carrot and ginger is delicious. It's not like these things are bad. And it's not like if you are a non-vegan, you can never have these foods. We're not like carnivore crazy people over here. Sweet potato is great. Yams, or it's like an old school food for boosting your testosterone, like old school bodybuilding food. Pumpkin tastes good, I guess. I'm not sure the nutritional benefits of pumpkin beyond vitamin A. Carrot juice, I guess it has a lot of vitamin A also. And carrot and ginger, like I said, is kind of a traditional tonic. It's very popular, I think, in the Middle East. All right, next one is fat. What fat sources should you use as a mad scientist vegan? I think it's very, very important and cannot be overstated that you should be very, very picky with the type of fat that you eat. In fact, if you get one bit of information from this video or from any fitness or nutrition video that you ever watch, it's that you need to be extremely picky with the types of fats that you eat. For example, you should not eat polyunsaturated fatty acids. You should not eat any sort of seed oil. No, anytime you read a nutritional label and it has vegetable oil, canola oil, cottonseed oil, sunflower oil, safflower oil, any of those oils, you should not eat that food. That is a hard stop right there. Do not eat that food. Do not. Go find something else. If you can't find anything else, then go recreate that food in your kitchen. Do not eat it. It'll fuck you up. It's not good. Now, these two things, avocado and olive oil, these are both not, fake seed oils created in a fucking refinery. Avocado, what does avocado have? Oh yeah, K1. There's two types of vitamin K, right? K1 and K2. K2 is the more important one, but avocado does have K1. Anecdotally, I always noticed that when I was in Cleveland earlier this year, I went through a phase where I was eating like, I don't know, not a pound, maybe half a pound of guacamole, 8 ounces of guacamole a day. I would go to Aldi and buy the little, whatever square thing of avocado, and I always felt really good. I was in a better mood. I had better. I got crazy morning wood for some reason. I don't really know why, but it was only when I ate the avocado or the guacamole, and I was just like eating it, by the container, and it was just really good for waking up with morning wood. I don't know why. It's kind of strange. Olive oil is also really good. I want to say olive oil is 80% mono unsaturated fatty acids, which is like the good kind of fat. Is olive oil as good as butter or beef tallow? I don't know if it's as good, but I know that these two, like, you can't go wrong with these two. Really, it's hard to fake tallow and it's hard to fake butter. There's a lot of fake olive oil out there, and these are really good. I like cooking with ghee. I like cooking with tallow. It's like my new favorite thing. But if you're a vegan, these are great sources of fat, and I would highly recommend. Like, if I was vegan, I'd be eating fucking guacamole every single day, and guacamole is delicious. Who doesn't like that? If I was vegan, I would be using olive oil to cook my food, and also as a sauce for my food. Right? Like, actually, like, you guys use ketchup or whatever the fuck you use, or hot sauce. I'd be using olive oil as a drizzle on everything, because it's just that good for you. Next one is vitamin K. Now, there's two types of vitamin K, K1 and K2. K1 is from green leafy vegetables, which is why all these vegans will be like, oh, green leafy vegetables are so good for you. Oh my God, they're amazing. And like, meanwhile, I don't know. I've eaten a lot of green leafy vegetables. I've gone through periods where I bought into this and I tried it. I didn't feel that good, number one. Maybe I leaned out a little bit, but like, you eat a gigantic salad like this big, and afterwards your stomach is full, but you're still hungry. So yeah, questionable effectiveness of vitamin K1, and vitamin K2 is kind of the one that's people talk about, as being really important. And the only source of vitamin K2 that comes from vegan food is natto, which is fermented soy. So it smells like shit. When I lived in Tokyo, people would eat this all the time. They'd be fucking, I'd like be sitting eating my food, and I would smell some nasty, stinky shit. And I'd look over and be some fucking Japanese guy eating natto or natto, whatever it's called. So let's talk about protein. In order to get enough protein as a vegan, I guess this is technically the easiest one because there are a lot of sources of protein. Is it high quality? Is it without side effects? Is it without any sort of phytic acid? No. Animal protein sources are superior to vegan protein sources across the board. It does not compare, really, in terms of convenience, nutritional profile, nutrient profile. But if you were going to be a vegan, regarding protein, I would say eat soy, I guess, right? Like, I guess you have to, don't you? It is technically a complete protein, but there are a lot of bad side effects to soy, which I will go over right now because I didn't remember all of them. Number one, high levels of phytic acid in soy reduce assimilation of all these minerals. Phytic acid in soy is not neutralized by ordinary preparation methods, such as soaking, sprouting, and long slow cooking. All right, so basically, soy has phytic acid. Phytic acid is an anti-nutrient that leaches minerals from your body. So you're eating all these minerals, you're eating all this healthy food, and then, oh, guess what? You ate some soy. Well, the phytic acid is going to bind to those minerals or something and flush them out of your system without them getting assimilated. Trypsin inhibitors in soy interfere with protein digestion and may cause pancreatic disorders. In test animals, soy-containing trypsin inhibitors cause stunted growth. That's probably not a good thing. Soy phytoestrogens disrupt endocrine function and have the potential to cause infertility and to promote breast cancer in adult women. Interesting. So, yeah, no bueno, really. Unless you want breast cancer. I don't know, maybe you do. Soy phytoestrogens are potent antithyroid agents that cause hypothyroidism and may cause thyroid cancer in infants. Consumption of soy formula has been linked to autoimmune thyroid disease. So, like, I know it just doesn't occur to a lot of people that these processed foods that are readily available and heavily marketed are somehow unhealthy, right? It's possible that it just didn't occur to people that formula, baby formula, is not as good as breastfeeding. I had to learn that at some point, I guess what I had to learn is the concept that processed food is inferior to natural food. right? And once I learned that concept, once I became aware of that and started to believe that, it is easily mapped over to many other forms of processed food, which I try not to touch if possible. So breastfeed your kids, ladies. Like, you want to be my wife, you got to breastfeed your kids. Got to agree to that ahead of time. Otherwise, I'm fucking taking that kid. You can, I don't know, go have another kid with somebody who doesn't care. Let's see here. Vitamin B12 analogs in soy are not absorbed and actually increase the body's requirement for B12. So I'm not sure what these vitamin B12 analogs are. Vitamin B12, I want to say, is thiamine, but I don't know anything about this. But this is from the Weston A. Price website, and I trust that they know what they're talking about. Soy foods increase the body's requirement for vitamin D, not necessarily a bad thing if you're getting enough sun, but are you? And do you even want to worry about that? Fragile proteins are denatured during high temperature processing to make soy protein isolate and textured vegetable protein. So this is one of the reasons why I eat raw meat frequently, is because you don't want your protein to be denatured, right? I'm not exactly sure how to explain denatured. Let's see what this means. Take away or alter the natural qualities of, destroy the characteristic properties of a protein or other biological macromolecule by heat activity or other effects that disrupt its molecular conformation. So that's one thing that people don't seem to understand, right? Like, let's say you cook a piece of meat. People think that meat equals protein. And while protein is one of the beneficial components of eating meat, one of the good reasons to do it, it's not the only good reason. And by cooking it, it's possible that you are destroying the other good benefits, even though at the same time you are, because you're cooking it and you're breaking it down, you're making it easier for your body to absorb whatever protein you happen to be consuming. So, it's a trade-off. And the question is, do you want to make that trade-off? In my opinion, it's not worth it, based on mainly how I feel when I eat raw meat versus how I feel when I eat cooked meat. Processing of soy protein results in the formation of toxic lysinoalanine and highly carcinogenic nitrosamines. I don't know what those are, but it sounds bad. Free glutamic acid, or MSG, a potent neurotoxin, is formed during soy food processing, and additional amounts are added to many soy foods. Interesting. I thought MSG was not bad for you. Isn't it just potassium? Oh, okay. Yeah, so apparently glutamic acid, it is not MSG. So I think that's glutamate. I've heard that glutamate is neurotoxic. Is that what they just said? Yeah, potent neurotoxin. So that's this is one of the reasons they say not to abuse Adderall, because it makes your brain produce more glutamate or something like that. I'm not really sure. So I think this is just not a typo, but I think they're conflating MSG with glutamate, which I think is free glutamic acid. It's the same thing, I think. Okay, so bottom line, I think MSG is okay, but glutamate is not, which is found in soy. Soy foods contain high levels of aluminum, which is toxic to the nervous system and the kidneys. I guess this is one of the reasons why, deodorants that have aluminum are not good. But anyway, that's about soy. So what's the problem with a vegan diet is that you're going to be eating soy, right? Even if you're not vegan. When I started to get really crazy about doing the ancestral diet maybe 3 weeks ago, I was like, okay, no refined wheat flour, no enriched flour, no bleached flour, no wheat, basically. I'm not eating any wheat. No, done. No polyunsaturated fatty acids, no canola, sunflower, safflower, fucking cottonseed, rapeseed, rice bran oil, none of that shit. No soy at all. And soy is in everything. Everything. Go to the store, go to your store, go pick out 20 food items at random. I promise you soy is in every single one in some form, right? Even if it's just soy lecithin, that shit is in everything. And it's hard. It's hard to not consume soy, really, unless you cook all of your food yourself and you eat mainly natural foods, which is what I advocate all the time. And that's one of the main reasons. But if you're a vegan, it's kind of the type of thing where you just need to pick the best bad option, really. And I think one of them is soy. Now, the one exception to that is tempeh. Tempeh is fermented soy, and that's the one caveat to eating soy is that if it is fermented, it like the fermentation process somehow makes all of the bad things about soy not be bad, and it's actually good for you, right? It's not the best explanation, but that's what I've read. And forms of fermented soy are tempeh, natto, and soy sauce is also fermented. Okay, so if you eat tempeh, natto, and soy sauce, those are okay. Every other form of soy is bad and you should stay away from it. But if you're a vegan, you might need to have some fucking soy protein powder, because what else are you gonna do? Actually, I should have written in here protein powder. Like there's pea protein and there's fucking hemp protein, but hemp I wouldn't recommend that you eat that because it's pretty bad for you. But yeah, and peas have fucking phytic acid, so like there's no, everything has a downside. Whereas with these, the downside is not really evident. All right, another way to get protein is from legumes. I spelled this wrong. Lentils, beans, chickpeas, things like that. Peanuts are also legumes. These also have a lot of phytic acid and need to be soaked in order for that to not be a problem. They do have a lot of protein, right? And I do know that there is one person, I forget who it is, but it's this guy who studied blue zones, right? Which are these parts of the world where they have like, you know, the most 100-year-old people in the world are live in blue zones or something. And yeah, and the guy who like studied all these, or one of those guys, he's like, you know, somebody asked him, I was listening to a podcast and the host was like, okay, what's the one thing people should do? You know, if they don't have time to listen to this 2-hour podcast, what should they do? And the guy's like, eat beans to extend your life, right? So that guy says it's a good idea. They do have a lot of phytic acid. He didn't specify what kind of beans or how to prepare them. I've tried it. I've tried eating a lot of beans. Definitely made me fart a lot. So I don't know. I'm not saying beans are bad. I like hummus and other types of beans, but you know, given the choice, I would not choose them. I would choose something from this little top graph right here. But if you're a vegan, I guess that is the best choice. Other things here, like I guess let's talk about spirulina and nutritional yeast. So nutritional yeast is like 2/3 protein, right? So it's not like pure protein, but I think it was, what did they say, like an ounce of nutritional yeast has 14 grams of protein. So there's 28 grams in an ounce. So that means 50% of nutritional yeast is protein. Now, nutritional yeast is the type of thing that you like sprinkle on food. You know what I mean? It's like saying salt is 50% protein. You're not going to eat fucking spoonfuls of salt. You're not going to eat spoonfuls of nutritional yeast, I don't think. I don't know what that would do to you if you would like grow fucking bread in your stomach or something. I can't recommend doing that because yeast is like a living thing. And I think if you eat a lot of it, like it'll grow in your stomach. I don't even know. Like I wouldn't try it, but it is technically, it does have a high percentage that is made of protein. And I think it's healthy. I think it's got a lot of vitamin B. So I guess you should include it in your diet. And spirulina also is very high in protein. And spirulina is like, I want to say, isn't spirulina like the seaweed, right? It's like the green, it's like the seaweed version of wheatgrass, right? It's got all these fucking minerals and stuff like that. And it's also very high in protein. But again, the thing with spirulina is that you're not going to eat it. How much spirulina are you going to eat per day? Really not that much, I don't think. Is that maybe the best way to be a vegan, is to have fucking eat a container of spirulina every day? Maybe. Not very cost effective. Like you're going to eat $20 of spirulina per day. Worth a shot, I guess, if you're going to do it and money is no object, right? I mean, you know, you could eat $20 of meat per day as a man, right? If you're fit and working out. Next one is nut butters, or I guess the last one, nut butters, like peanut butter, almond butter, macadamia butter, all that shit. A lot of these nuts, if they're not prepared properly, they also have phytic acid. Most of them, as far as I know, are roasted, which does take care of the phytic acid, or takes care of, I think, the phytic acid. But they're high in omega-6, right? And this is, you want to limit your omega-6 fatty acids, right? Omega-3s are good, omega-6 is bad. One of the reasons why these polyunsaturated fatty acids are so bad is because they're very high in omega-6. So again, the whole issue with being a mad scientist vegan It's basically like, oh, sorry. It's like none of these options are really good. None of these options are ideal. You know, like what do you hear me say? Is it? I think I say it with the nutritional videos, right? Where it's like, you know, protein powder is not bad. You know, it's not, but it's not ideal, right? This stuff is not. Some of this stuff is bad, really. Soy is bad. The nut butters, like, they're not good. You know, or they're not as good as something else that you could eat. They're not ideal. So like, why would you do this? Why would you ever want to be a vegan anyway, is what I want to know. Unless you are really 100%, if you're doing it because of ethical reasons and only ethical reasons, then it's fine. Then you have my support. Good for you. Bless you. You're a good person. Better than me, no doubt. But if you're using this like ethical superiority as like a mask to hide your eating disorder because you think meat is bad for you and meat will make you fat or manly, then this is the nutritionally inferior choice, and not like only by a little bit. Like, this is terrible. I would never in a million years recommend that anybody do this unless they are just like fucking so against eating animals. Like, that would be the only reason I would even tell anybody that this is a potential solution, because it's a shit solution. But it's the best solution that you can have given the constraints of a vegan diet. So anyway, that was my video. Is that interesting to you? Let me know. Leave me a comment. You guys want to see anything about anything else? Write it in the comment section. Peace.